Okay guys, so let's take a look at the Viking Kayak Profish Reload. This boat is 15 foot long, 29.5 inches wide. It weighs 74 pounds and carries 450 pounds in capacity. We're going to start here at the bow as well. So of course it's got the carry handles on front and back. You've also got built-in nuts that are molded into the plastic for your anchor trolley and some other accessories as we go along here. The next thing that you may not be super obvious at first is the grooves that are actually molded into the bow of this boat. And you'll also see that in the combing here on the front of the cockpit area. In New Zealand, you're going in and out of the surf to get on the coast, and so you're hitting waves and things like that. In those conditions, you would take your rods out of the rod holders that we're going to take a look at back here on the back, and you would place them in a more secure location so that you don't lose your rods in case you happen to roll your kayak or flip it in the surf. So the anglers would actually lay their poles up in here. You've got this little button here that comes up off the elastic strap, so you're able to just simply slide them up over into the groove and it holds your rods securely. You can also place an extra paddle up there without having to move around in the kayak very much. You can secure your gear to the bow of the boat. Okay, so moving on to the hatch. This gear hatch here is open to the inside of the boat, all the way in, but as you can see, it is a extremely large storage compartment for any gear that you might have or you might need whenever you get to your destination, or if you want to carry extra dry clothes or towels or anything like that. It does secure in with these nylon straps that clip across the front of it. And a nice soft molded plastic makes it relatively easy to get on and off while also keeping the water out. I'll leave that right there for now. Moving on, you've got your foot pegs. These are adjustable for the different height of each paddler. Really nice upgrade to any kayak. If you're looking at a kayak and you've got the molded foot areas along the edges versus these adjustable foot pegs, definitely recommend upgrading to the adjustable foot pegs right off the bat. That's going to be something that you really enjoy because you can set it for your height or your leg length as needed. The toe pads here, this one's zipped down, but they are for your rudder. This cord runs all the way to the back and controls the rudder with your toes. So as you need to turn right or left from paddling and adjust for wind or anything like that, you can simply adjust it with your toes. Okay, so I wanted to take a moment to dive into the heart of the Viking Kayak Tackle pod, which is the pod that you see right here in the center of the Profish versions of Viking kayaks. It's the Profish Reload, like we've been looking at. Also, the Profish GT model comes with these tackle pods included. So as we take a look at the top of these first, you'll notice the Railblaza star ports on top. That's for accepting any kind of gear that you want to attach to it. The biggest things that usually go on here are rod holders or instrument holders for your fish finder, your graph, to attach to your transducer. And your transducer wires actually go down through this cover through a tube all the way to the bottom, and I'll show you that here in just a second. Moving back, you do have the bungee cord for holding in bait packs. You've got the cutting board for if you had live bait or cut bait that you wanted to work through. The bungee cord just holds this top part closed, and on the inside, of course, then you have all of this extra space all the way up into the front of that for storing any kind of tackle or other gear. Now I'll close this real quick and show you the really awesome function of this is that when you get back to the dock, you can simply take the entire pod out, removing it and taking it into your car. Now if we look at the bottom side of the pod, you'll notice from before when we were bottoms up that there's the transducer mount. So the mount goes underneath here. It's protected inside the housing of this pod, and it's removable with the rest of your gear so you can secure it back at the dock in your car or whatnot. So moving on, we do have two rod holders that sit forward of the paddler and angle forward as well, so they're out of the way while you're trying to tie on or whatever you might need. And then moving back, of course, you've got several pad eyes to attach gear, leashes, anything that you might need. Leashing your gear is something that you need to be doing. You leash it or you lose it. Right behind the tackle pod and right between your legs is going to be a little small gear area. Secured, of course. It's got a rubber gasket around it. It's got this little cup in it, if I can get it out. There we go. It does have a drain hole in the bottom of it that is secured at the moment. You can always pop that out if you want it to be draining or not, or take in water. But this is a true dry hatch molded into the kayak itself with a little cup just to keep things extra dry and extra secure. Wallet, keys, cell phone, whatever you might want will fit in that one. Now I do want to point out that this kayak comes with the soft seat, not a metal backed seat. You do sit down in this kayak a little bit deeper. They do provide the scupper holes, of course, for drainage. But I do want to also point out, and I don't know if you can see it real well, I'm going to get this direction, that the area right in this area here is molded in such a way that it raises your thighs up a little bit and your knees are bent just slightly, so it's a much more comfortable ride than some of our other kayaks that we've had, even some of our rentals, that you sit more with a straight leg, and it provides a really nice curve to your legs, pushing your butt, of course, back into the seat a little bit more and making it for a much more comfortable sitting position. I've got the seat removed just so we can see it, but I'll show you that here in just a second. It does have the paddle port over here, the paddle holder. Just simply wrap that up over the paddle and it'll secure it. And then right here behind the cockpit, behind the seat, is probably one of the most advanced areas for a fishing kayak. It comes this way from the factory. You've got 4 rod holders and also 2 starport gear holders that you can add anything that you'd like. I've got one that's got a GoPro mount on it. I've got some that have a couple rod holders on it. You can add all sorts of stuff. The pad eyes here for your back seat, for the back of your seat. And then of course we've got more storage compartments here and a second one on that side. Great location for storing extra bait or anything that you might not want to be just flopping around in your kayak. And then moving back, it's got one of the larger storage compartments in the back. This is also where, if you've been in the shop, you've seen our chill pods. I'll show those here real quick. And they fit perfectly into this shape here, as well as being able to float by themselves. But they actually fit into these little pad eyes here and then clip in at the back. Of course, you've got your drain for this area. And you'll notice that there's some more nuts molded in on either side and in the back as well for adding extra gear. They've kind of thought of some other accessories that you can put in there. Come in sometime, we can always talk about those. These ones back here, of course, are for your anchor trolley. There's 2 on each side. Your drain plug, of course, carry handles. This last starport I usually find is going to be for your light. So if you're paddling in the evening time or in the early mornings or at night, you do have to have a white light. Here in the United States, you also have to have a red and green if you're paddling in some parts of Missouri or some parts of the US. So that's an area for your stern light to be up on a pole or whatever you might have. So great little addition. It comes this way, built from the factory with some of these features in mind. And of course, the rudder to end it off. I don't have it installed, but the clips are already installed on the Profish Reload. Ready to go for a rudder. So, and it comes with the boat as well. Now, if we're talking tackle pods, it is important to point out that there is more than just one. We have 3 different options for tackle pods. We've got the traditional tackle pod that comes with every Viking Profish model. We've also got the kid pod, which sits very low profile and allows for somebody to sit in the front facing backwards towards the paddler. For a kid, even dogs, it just opens up the cockpit quite a bit so that you have a little bit more room. And it does have 2 small tackle areas that you can store gear or whatnot. And then my favorite, of course, is the live bait pod. Now this is my personal one as well, which I'll show you here in a little bit, but it still comes with the Railblazer ports up on top, as well as an on-off switch. And you see it says live bait pod. That is because the front of this actually has a bilge pump in it. And if we were to turn this over, you'll notice that there is a port that takes in water and then it pumps it into the main compartment here on the front. If I can get the bungee off. So it pumps it into this main compartment for live bait mostly. You could use it for shad, you could use it for minnows, you could use this as a live well for just a handful of crappie or something, but you will run out of room for that pretty quickly. And then as the water comes up into this, it then flows out the sides and around your feet and down in through the scupper holes. So it's self-draining, and it keeps fresh water then moving through this, so it doesn't warm up, it doesn't go stale. You can keep your fish alive for a lot longer. So okay, so bonus content here. I told you I'd show you my live bait pod and how I've got it set up. Nothing super special here yet, but I do have my hummingbird attached to it. The cord for the hummingbird transducer, of course, goes down through the bottom. I can show that to you here. There's the transducer sitting snug in the bottom of that, removable with the rest of the pod. The other side here, I've had multiple things on there. Right now I've got a camera pole on it, as you can see there. The live bait pod, as I mentioned before, has the bilge pump inside of it that fills up the main compartment. My main compartment right now, when it's not in the boat, I keep that light pole that I mentioned before by Railblaza. It fits 3 pieces there. It fits in that back Railblaza port on the Viking Profish Reload. A little bungee cord for holding down a plano box or a tackle box of some sort. Inside the main compartment, the dry compartment up here, is also my battery, of course. And then this is a voltage meter that I installed. That's aftermarket, but I don't necessarily need it anymore that we've moved into lithium ion batteries, but that was for the lead acid battery that I used before. The on-off switch for the bilge pump here. Of course, you can mount all sorts of other switches for other electronics if you'd like, but that's my setup. If you like these types of videos, please hit that like button. Let us know in the comments if you liked it, if you wanted to know more information. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Luke with Warsaw Adventures. Thanks again for coming along, and we'll see you on the trail.